Man, this is great. We're here at Go Philly. You know, just first and foremost, when is the last time any of us ever sat down and had a conversation about mental health as black men? Anybody?
Not a positive one.
I was just gonna say that.
You know, I would say, to tell the truth, I haven't had this kind of, like a positive conversation about mental health. It's been plenty of times I'm in the barbershop and we might talk about how somebody fell off, right? And we don't necessarily recognize why they fell off. We just, oh yeah, man, he lost it, right? Or she lost it, right? And so we talking about the impacts of their mental health, right? But we don't really talk about the mental health. It's the fact that, man, you seen such and such, yeah, he fell off. They said he crazy. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
It's that kind of conversation, really a negative one. So it's exciting to be a part of something positive,
Right.
I think it needs to, well, I can't remember the last time that I've had a conversation, or if I have, because the space is not so much a safe place for men, right? So it's like, okay, are you going through it, or you tend to do it on your own, or you do it behind closed doors, and so I can't remember the last time I had, or I don't know if it's even been a thing.
Yeah.
Well, I think even in that same space, just black men are getting together in the first place, having a discussion about life, right? And then, yes, when mental health comes up, everybody has a different definition of what mental health is. So it's tough to even kind of break into the true issue, if that's what you want to call it, but also just try to understand, like, you got the same feelings I got, and how do I share that and be vulnerable? And that's tough, obviously, as you mentioned, True. When you're a man, you just kind of hoping that feeling the same way.
Feelings?
You got feelings, bro?
Well, I do find, if we've talked about this earlier, I do find that although it's sometimes far and in between, when we do, find a reason to come together for these, conversations like this, they might be far and in between. But once we do come together, the healing that takes place in those, type of settings is what we're hoping happens today. You know what I mean? While we're here. You know what I mean? Because, we do have a lot of private conversations, with ourselves or maybe with our spouse, so on and so forth. But, normalizing the conversation means letting it, from a community perspective, know, hey, it's okay to talk about this. You know what I mean? Yeah. I know I've had, we different, not for mental health necessarily, but different, groups we come together, whether it's spiritual, whether it's, for education, business opportunities, things like that. Once we get together, breakthrough happens.
Right.
For us, breakthrough happens. And so we need breakthrough with this. You know what I mean? In this particular area. And so, don't remember when it happened. I've never sat down and had this kind of conversation with other men, but I'm glad it's happening now.
Me too.
And knowing each of your perspectives on the fact that we've been in this, type of situation where it's either turned out negative or it's been avoided because of fear or, feeling inferior. Why did you agree to be here today for this conversation? Now, like in this space now, like.
Well, I know for me, just to let people know it's okay. I mean, and even for myself, just to get another opportunity. And you gotta, I feel like you gotta practice everything you do. And even practicing having these type of conversations, I think is part of it. You get more comfortable.
That's good.
It becomes easier, and you get better at it. If you're trying to express how you feel, but you really don't know how to. I know I went through that, and I'm still going through that. Like, you talk about relationships and your spouse and all that, being able to express how you feel and what you want is tough to do for some people. And so for me,
Especially men.
yeah, and that's why I'm here, just to get more practice, get another op. Man, I'm putting up more shots now. I'm still shooting, right? So
Right.
That's good.
just to continue.
You're balling now. You're not.
I used to hoop a little bit in high school, but now not so much, man.
Okay.
Lots of stretching.
Right, yeah, stretch. So yeah.
That's funny.
Well, I think, maybe to answer the question directly, relationships, right? I think, when you get a phone call, a text message, an email, a Facebook request, an Instagram, or whatever kind of contact you get from someone that you trust, it's easy for you to walk into those conversations. So when someone like Jason Kinlow reaches out, you have to kind of stop what you're doing to say, hey, I have an alignment with you, and let's begin to walk alongside along this journey. And then, of course, as African-American males, you don't have too many relationships like that, right? So when you get those, you've got to kind of lean on them and also take advantage of the opportunity to have these type of discussions. So, relationships are key, but also trust that, you're going to hold me up if I do fall.
Yeah.
So,
Man, for me, I mean, obviously, I'm here because I got invited as well, and Jason's the type of cat that I just have never seen him not follow through. Like everything he's ever been involved with conviction. But as I got to thinking about the whole campaign and mental health and why it matters, I most certainly have kind of been supportive for years around, but honestly, it's been a lot of females. Right, like my good friend Ashley McGirt, she's been doing a lot of mental health awareness. She's kind of on the thing now. She wrote a book, and I helped promote that a few years ago. So I most certainly kind of took it serious, but on a personal level. But also in the last couple of years, I'm like a manager at work, like a higher level manager, where and you really have to take these things serious. I was the type of person at work, honestly, for a long time. When somebody said, "Oh, I need a mental health day," I'm like, "Okay, they go on the wild legs." You know what I mean? For real, but you can't. You know what I mean? But then when you're the supervisor, you're the manager, and you really don't have a right to question why somebody's taking a mental health day. And so, as a coworker, you could kind of always, look down on that or kind of, whatever, a little smirk. But now that you are in a position of power, and you're managing people, you can't let that come into your decisions around, opportunities that you give people in the life. You can't, in the back of your mind, like, oh man, I know that guy, he's not serious about this job. He's the one always taking mental health days, right? You can't think like that, right? So I've become increasingly more of a believer, if you will, in mental health awareness and why it matters. And that's why this was right on time when you invited me down, because I've really been working on this a lot at work. I actually had a coach that's helped me, go through it and make sure that I'm just becoming the best manager that I can be. And that's part of it, really believing people, right? I always knew it was a thing, but then when there's somebody close to you, like, oh, sure you do, you know what I mean? Right. And so, that's why this is just another opportunity for growth for me, right? And especially around black men, right? Because like I said, we have a lot of, I think, high-profile African-American women that are really in this field, and I like on Facebook all the time, right? On Facebook, you'll hear when somebody says, "Hey, I'm looking for a black therapist," on the recommendations, it's always all of these black women, right? And you don't really see any black men, any of that. So this is great. And that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm here.
And maybe, so I'm going to also add something to that. First, I want to give a shout out to Ricky Solitaire, who is a black man therapist, in Washington State. And his list of clients is long because he is only one of a few. But in our professions, no matter what you do, there's always a portion of serving people in that, right? Whether it's in business, athletics, etc. There's a level of servant leadership that comes about.
Right.
And having the true definition of what mental health is will help you move your teammates along. And I think sometimes when it comes to black community, we don't lean on the true definition. We hear excuses, right? We go, nah, you're not really mentally messed up. You just need a butt whooping, right? Or you probably just need to pay your bills this week and stop going to the casino or whatever it is, right?
Last week, you ain't messed up then.
At all.
Or if you're in the church, you just need prayer.
You just need some prayer, right? So I think there's just elements of, having these type of dialogues and kind of raising the language, right? Because we all can code switch really well, but mental health you can't fake.
Right.
So, yeah.
I think another thing too, I know for me, is sometimes you gotta go through something to really understand it. So these past this past year, of course, with the pandemic and everything, and just being stuck in the house and just,
Yeah.
you know, it's always something negative on the TV is right in front of your face. I'm going through this thing like, man, things are a little different. And you know what I'm saying? So I felt like I had to make a move. I had to do some different stuff. And we talked about this as far as going to different men's groups and just being able to express and being able to talk to people that's going through some of the same things. So I think that's a big part of it. As far as when you talk about mental health, a lot of people don't get it and they don't understand it, but until you can really experience that, or you know somebody that's close to you,
Right.
that's really been through that type of situation, it can be, you know, you kind of just push it to the side. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Well, it's much easier, honestly, and you know, we all move fast, everybody got something going on. It's so much easier to buy into whatever narrative than to really give it the thought, right? So society is always guilty, right? We see that with society around black men getting killed by the police, right? The immediately greater society, white society, oftentimes says, well, what were they doing in that neighborhood? Were they a thug or whatever, right? So it's so easy to write that off. You don't have to humanize that person if you can put them in that box. And I think it's the same way, you know, with mental health, awareness around mental health, right? It's just so easy to say, oh, that person's faking or whatever, because then you don't have to really dive into assisting them, right?
Real
Because
yourself, right?
at the end of the day, I think that's part of it too, right? Is that by acknowledging that this person is having an issue, it's kind of incumbent upon you now to try to help,
Come with
right?
responsibility.
Because you knew what they was going through, but as long as in your
Absolutely.
mind you thinking, oh, they want to do that, right? You know, and that's kind of, you know, the same thing across a lot of areas, like you know, people that are, you know, abusing, you know, drugs, and you know, we think a lot of times with homelessness people, you know, there's a lot of people that say, oh, they want to be out there, right? And it's the same thing with mental health in a way where, you know, I think people, we gloss over it because like I said, we don't necessarily, I'm saying we collective society don't want to necessarily have to dive into that person's true issue, like what support do they really need? You know what I mean? Are they gonna call me every day now that I done said, you know what I mean?
You pull the Band-Aid off.
Yeah, so now you gotta actually kind of make sure it heals up since you pulled the Band-Aid off. So,
And that's work.
yeah, facts.